If you work with people with pain and I asked you, what is it about your treatment that helps someone in pain, what would you say? Is it the technique that you choose for that person? Do you find that a specific technique is more successful overall? Is it the pressure, the therapeutic relationship, the clinic environment? If you say it's all of them, what is the specific recipe that works? I'm betting that a lot of you just thought, well, it depends. Most massage research for musculoskeletal pain conditions asks whether a particular technique works for a particular condition. Sadly, most of the time, those studies show weak or modest results. But that doesn't really match with the benefits that clients appear to get from massage. Those standardized protocols are not how massage therapists actually work in the real world. We know from a handful of qualitative studies that therapists individualize their treatments to each client rather than follow protocols. And yet we still don't know much about what massage therapists actually do in a treatment or what they think makes it work. To understand what happens in real-world practice, my co-authors and I interviewed 6 very experienced Australian orthopaedic massage therapists. We explored what they believe makes massage treatment effective for clients with pain. The information they provided was then analysed for themes and concepts that could help us understand how massage therapists really work with clients. What stood out immediately was that none of the 6 therapists talked about techniques or modalities. 58 times across their interviews, they replied by saying, "It depends," and then explaining some of the variables that it might depend upon. They focused almost entirely on how the differences between people determined the treatment they gave. This became the central concept of the study, difference, that everything these therapists did was about applying their clinical problem solving to the individual characteristics of the client and of their pain. From our analysis of the interviews, we developed 3 main themes. Theme 1, everyone is different, so every treatment is different. The therapist said they could not decide what treatment they would give without knowing the person in front of them. It's very independent. I can't give you an answer because it's too individual. It depends upon the person on my table and where they are in their headspace and their physical space on that given day. Bridget. But also therapists are different. Lucy spoke about the importance of students learning from a number of experienced therapists so they would experience different approaches and be less likely to treat rigidly. And therefore, every treatment is different. You will never get the same treatment twice off me. Even if you come in with exactly the same problem, you will not get the same treatment because I will do whatever your body needs at that point in time. And then it depends on how your body responds will determine what I do next. Paul. Theme 2, how therapists cope with difference. Checklists and protocols fail because they're based on similarities, not differences. So the therapist has to be comfortable with not knowing the answer immediately. These therapists had strategies to manage that uncertainty. They asked the client questions, developed hypotheses, and also asked themselves questions to test their own understanding and logic. Why are you sore? I'm not asking them, I'm asking myself why. Why are they sore there? So I'm looking at all the scenarios that might cause loading into that area. Tom. They also saw the therapeutic relationship as vital, not just in its own right, but because it allowed them to get to know the client well enough to adapt the treatment to that person's needs and allowed the client to genuinely share what they needed. I think there's a certain type of person that does better in this industry than others, and it's the people who have really good communication and that ability to build up rapport. Otherwise, you are just treating with protocols. Tess. Theme 3. What makes a difference? The therapists didn't have a set way to treat a particular issue. They all described a problem-solving process that they used to refine their treatment throughout a session. They would measure something, and then they would treat for a short period and then measure the same thing again. They would continue or adapt until they got a meaningful change. My overarching framework is literally assess, treat, reassess, and then rethink your process and adapt it continually. And if I don't see a change, I'm going to change what I'm doing. Paul. This study suggests that in massage, perhaps effectiveness isn't located in a technique. Perhaps effectiveness is a process, assessing, treating, reassessing and adapting, taking into account the differences between people, not just the similarities. If we want research to reflect real-world clinical success, perhaps we need to ask different questions. Not just does technique X work for condition Y, but how do therapists reason, adapt, and individualise to make a difference for each client?